Oh, well, hello everybody. It's the silly one back again, and if you're looking in the corner and you're thinking, what's going on there? I've been joined today by the lovely, wonderful, historically incredible knower of all amazing BattleTech facts in existence. What this man doesn't know isn't written down, basically. I have Mitch with me. Say hi, Mitch.
Howdy, everybody.
And you're wondering what the hell is he doing here? Well, uh, we're not playing today, don't worry. But what we're here to do is to show off something called the F20, and the F20 stands for faction. Managed to change everything. Sorry, too many buttons, too many screens, too many windows. You have no idea how long it took me to get this set up like this. So the F20, 20 faction decks based around BattleTech Tactics 2, the expansion, very much focused on the cards there. And they are quite a strange flavour in the fact that it's a 60 card normal original game style deck, but there is a 12 card sideboard, not an 8 card sideboard. And the idea, which comes from Mr. DSR himself, Chester Hendricks, was that the sideboard would then go into the DSR deck to make up the 72 cards. And that was a nice, interesting challenge in itself, alongside creating all of these decks, one for everything, one Jade Falcon, one Wolf, one Ghost Bear, one Davion, one Steiner, etc., etc. Exploring all the new cards. It takes you ages to read them. There are a lot, 1,300 new cards on top of the original 800. And you think you know most of the 800, and then yeah, there's probably more. So coming up with some of those and themes and creating these are something that I have done in conjunction with this wonderful gentleman here. And sometimes we've kind of gone with ideas and just done it independently. Sometimes it's him, sometimes it's me. Sometimes I've come up with crazy things and he's just been blown out of the water with the total insanity and said, forget that, it never happened. You cannot do that with a deck because I will never forgive you. It's not thematically correct. And get yourself back down to earth.
Ghost Bear remind me. Yeah.
Pardon? What was that? The Ghost Bear?
Ghost Bear was one. Yeah.
Oh, it's just something out of the box. So
No.
yeah. So
And they've
oh, go on. You have a chat.
no.
I've
I'm
talked for
just
too
going to add
long.
on that they were all designed too with the idea that now the original OG decks were put out by Mark and Chester. Mark designed them, and Chester and Michael had them set up for printing. But there's still no real easy access to get into the bulk of the BattleTech Tactics cards from a print perspective, right? So these were all designed as to be an entry into the factions and what they can bring to the table. Some of them are not exactly specific faction what you'd expect. The Kurita decks, not all samurai, for instance. But they are all a way to be like, hey, I'm going to get 72 cards that are, other than 6 of them, and the supports are all tactics cards that I can now mix in with my OG decks or start making my own decks and have some stability instead of just being stuck in a singleton format or having to buy every card at once, right? So those are some of the design ideas that went into the decks as well, right? So
Yeah, and I think having done the original decks, we've kind of tried there to do like Commander's Edition starters plus, so they're a little more focused. And certainly we've done the same here, i.e. they are 3 asset decks at most. I think it's true to say that every deck contains tactics. That's the only stable resource, i.e. it's in every deck. And the reason
we
for that,
didn't play the jump game, no.
and the very simple reason for that was we wanted to play mission cards. The decks are roughly, well, they are designed on 24, 12, 24, with a 12 card sideboard. So all multiples of 6 across the board. So each deck has 24 resources in it. It has 24 units in it, and it has 12 other cards, which could be commands, it could be missions, that give the flavour and power and whatever else. Okay.
I think St. Ives is the only one that varies from that.
There's a couple where there are extra resources. I think the Nova Cat is one, but they go a bit heavy and they need the extra resource boost. So we've started off with that and as a set of kind of principles, and we've had lots of arguments over it, and we've tried to steer away from the original game cards as well. I can think of one off the top of my head that is in there, and there might be a second card, but that was Mitch saying, if that doesn't go in this deck, it shouldn't be in the game. So it was there for the right reasons is probably the way to describe it. Okay.
There's a couple of cheeky basic cards, not many, but there's a couple.
Yeah.
Just for flavor.
Okie dokie. So the next thing to say is we're gonna talk through the decks, but one of the other things we want to do is we want to showcase them, and by that we mean play them. So we have, and I'm just going to drag this across the screen, a little schedule here, and we had a spreadsheet, we logged everything in, and within that I put a little number randomizer and came up with a kind of batting order, and we decided to play Innisphere versus Clan because that was nice and easy, and I just ran some random numbers, and this is what came up, and I think we changed one. So we're starting off with Marik versus Jade Falcon, and Chester's playing Marik, I'm playing Jade Falcon, and then there's a Davion Wolf in Exile matchup, a Kurita Smoke Jag. I think that one's going to be very painful. There's a Liao Diamond Shark one, I think that one is as well. Wolf's Dragoon Star Adder, Rasselhag Ghost Bear, St. Ives Nova Cat, that's going to be interesting. Steiner Steel Viper, which is going to be absolutely brutal, I think. Comstar and Wolf.
There's going to be a lot of plus in that deck, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of scrap stuff, yeah. And then finally, the Word of Blake versus Mitch's adopted, well, I'm not sure if he's adopted, he's probably the ill clan of Hell's Horses. So that's the running order. So we're going to just look at the first decks in order. We're recording this in our own time. We're not sure how far we're going to get on with this. This is purely rough and ready, naked as it comes, straight out the box. So we're just going to go with the flow, record it, and see how far we get. But we're going to do them in order. Okay, so we're going to start with the Marik deck. Who did this one? I can't remember.
This was a combined effort, and I think it leaned a little bit on me. I remember a conversation early on, because Marik was not one of the ones we were familiar with, and saying, what does Marik actually bring to the table? And at the end of the day, we realized that was long range, and some other shenanigans, like every faction, nothing's pivoted in, and so we tried to develop this long range deck and what it can bring to the table, because one thing BattleTech Tactics did, and you're going to see in almost all the decks, have pilots. Each faction now has a fairly good pilot, plus Michael and Chester did a wonderful job of rounding out the generic pilots. So there's a lot more support and stability that's provided that way, and those pilots can go a long way to obviously theming these decks, right? So with Marik, you had the Deadeye, right? And he kind of gives that almost blitzkrieg elemental effect to long range, which is an interesting way to play. We all know that long range 2 can be hard to work around. 2 extra damage guaranteed on the stockpile could kill you after a couple of turns, right? So, but no, this one was definitely a joint effort to get it nice and smooth, I think. There's cards in it that I know were a mixture of both of us to get them where it's at. So,
yeah. So taking a step back, resources. There are 24 resources. In all of the decks, we have put 2 war funds. Full stop, across the board, 2 war funds, no more, no less.
That was an argument.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case for putting 4 in or 6 in or whatever else, and whoever buys 3 decks ends up with like 28 war funds. And much as they are useful, possibly a little overkill. So most of the decks have either 1 or 2 black market connections in. The reason for one is that some of the cards allow for recursion or returning them from the stockpile. Sorry, not a stockpile. That'd be great, wouldn't it? The scrap heap. So that's kind of gives everybody the same option to get stuff from the scrap heap, but it's in a slightly different flavour in some decks because cards have certain powers. And think tank for flexibility. You know, you could take 2 think tanks out and put 4 war funds in, and then nobody's got any think tanks and everyone's got war funds, and we just wanted to make sure there was a variety there, and that's probably more on me, to be fair.
Yeah, the resource structure is very much on you, and
Yeah.
that you can take that responsibility. I definitely wanted more war funds just for I like the flexibility, and some of the more recent deck discussions on the BattleTech group there has kind of explained why more war funds is good. I understand it's slow. I've seen your comparison videos and stuff like that, but I think that with the 2 war funds was a happy medium. And the think tanks aren't just there for flexibility. There are some decks that do need that 4th resource, and in some decks, I think there's one deck that has 2 think tanks, and it needs 2 think tanks technically. If you would never want to pay a buyout. Right? The 1 cost buyout is not necessarily worth a think tank sacrifice, but
So is excuse me, too much. Not give me another drink. 7 assembly and 7 tactics. The Marik deck runs very AT-ish and a smattering of logistics. I think that was kind of to keep Mitch happy because he loves this Warhammer. This Warhammer is one of his favourite cards. It's a great picture as well, and it's very typically Marik. So we blended some L into there because we wanted to include that.
Well, there's the Stingray as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
And then Paul Masters.
Is
political, and Orloff Military Academy is political. So this is the deck we said where you think tank for politics is almost worth it, right? But
I mean, Orloff. If that goes on the table, you start putting counters everywhere, and then you've got your Dead Eyes with -X attack and X damage to everything accordingly. Is very strong.
Yeah, I can't see what you've got up, but I mean, just to talk about it in the design philosophy here,
Sure.
Orloff Military Academy is a unique, but it's one of the academies that they designed, 1 per faction, and it lets you put a counter on any mech that does not have a unique pilot or a pilot counter on it. Unique pilot's a key word there, right? So when you put that pilot counter on it, it gets a long range 3 marker. Well, if you look at, say, take example that Warhammer that had long range 2 and 5 damage, now you're talking about long range 5.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which then ties into the Pathfinder that can give out an additional 2 long range and +1 attack, or it ties as a pilot, or it ties into the Marik pilot, Deadeye, which has that Blitzkrieg style ability, right? Where it gets -X attack, but deals X damage to each opposing unit for its long range ability. If you're talking 5 damage to everything you're facing because they decide to double block your Warhammer, right? That's a significant flat out damage to everything.
Well, it's effectively a double for each mech above the first that you block with. It's a damage multiplier of the base damage on that, isn't it? You block with 2, everything takes 5. You block with 3, everything takes 5. Full stop. So that's 15, not 10 or 5. So it lent very heavily into that. Just a small note on the Pathfinder that it ignores terrains as well. Yes, nice little card in there. We supported this with some reasonably Marik-centric mission package. +3 attack is always good. It's always nice. Sniping from higher ground. allows
That
you,
long range factor. Yep.
yeah, but you can tap the unit if it's slow to deal whatever damage it is to a fast unit.
Kind of like tag for long range.
Yes, yes. And then some utility in there, and then a range of units. And again, what we tried to do with a number of these, the Battle Master, the Chameleon, was to put some long range options in here with the Hostile and the Warhammer as well. And that was our basic deck. To say we limited our units to 2 of each, kind of like the War Funds idea, but also built in a curve. So you can see here that we have 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 cost. There's a number of 5 costs in here. There's a couple of 4 costers with the Cicada and the Wraith.
I'd say the 4-5 cost bracket was always our hardest space in this game. Like, again, it swarms the game starts to taper out after 7 cost, and that's something to keep in mind in BattleTech Tactics. And in this format plays a little longer when you're 2 of, so you can sometimes afford to get a 7 or an 8 cost out. But there's also a lot of great resource boosters in BattleTech Tactics, so you start to see some bigger units hitting the table, right? A little bit more consistently.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the cost curve goes as high as, well, I think this one stops at 8 with the awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And again, that's why we only included 2. So you get a nice flavour of all the units, but you know it would be dead easy to create a swarm and just put 6 units of this, 6 of this, and you don't see the other units, and you don't get the big things in play, and because of that. And the restricted number of units, then you're more likely to see slightly heavier stuff, shall we say? Okay.
Do we want to talk about the sideboard?
I was about to say, shall we move to the sideboard?
Yeah. 2 great pieces of tech in this. The sideboard's pretty generic. They, in many respects, they're going to duplicate key cards from the main deck. They almost all have 4 additional units. That again are going to work with some of the tech in the main deck, or give you the option to change how the main deck works a little bit, just like a sideboard should.
Yep.
But in the Marik one, the 2 pieces of tech in the sideboard that you can either mix into your main deck or are going to make a big difference in DSR is long range sniping and mountain range. Long range sniping is a command, so in our sideboards we try to go 4 units, 4 missions, 4 commands to give variability. The long-range sniping, activate only during your missions phase, but not during a mission. Choose one of your untapped mechs with long-range X and tap it. Choose an opposing unit and add X plus 2 damage counters to it. And it's damage counters.
Yeah.
It's not, right? So that's what I'm automatically structured.
Yeah.
Gain an additional deployment during your next deploy phase, right? Like, in a deck that's already abusing long-range 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, that's great. And then mountain range as a, sorry, I've got a guess. Mountain range as a new terrain, right? Tap any of a number of mechs in your patrol region and assign damage equal to the long range factor to opponents' engaged units. Again, it's kind of giving tag to long range, right? But it can only be used as ability during a mission whose target is in the region enhanced by mountain range. So it's going to end up being more defensive. Right, but it enables you to potentially remove cards and trade without trading, right? So
yeah, it's a good defensive. I mean, that long range sniping is a good way of dealing with fast units with slower, heavier things. Just hit them with the long range damage, which is kind of thematic in that respect, or at least reflects the board game or the tabletop kind of thing. We gave some variety with the missions. Sometimes we've doubled up on the mission in the sideboard in the respect that there's 1 in the main deck, 1 in the sideboard. If you like it and you want to play with it, you can pull it across. If you don't, you can leave it, or you get the benefit of having a couple when you play DSR. And the other thing I would say here is that the 2 units in the Marik sideboard, the Falcon Hawk, which again is another long range unit, and the Phoenix Hawk, another long range unit, are both very valid units for this deck. More long range works, and they're kind of in the lower cost category. They are a bit moderate. you might argue that you want to take some of the heavier stuff out and put them in. You might want to take one or two commands or missions out and put them in order to give you a bit more variety. So, the Marik deck. Yeah.
Marik deck. We call it the Marik long range deck. Some of the names are imaginative. Some of them are pretty just generic, right? So.
Yes. Shoot them from long range before they get close to you. Okay. So next up we have not the purple pigeon as I was calling it the other night, Marik. We have the Jade Falcon deck, the green budgies. Okie dokie.
Jade Falcon, big pilot deck.
Yes, yeah, and again, I think we went round with this a couple of times, and I think at one point we put some of the pilots in the sideboard and whatever else, and then we just said, no, sod this. Everybody wants to play with these pilots. They are great, and you know,
this is. Go ahead.
All I was going to say is there's so much fan stuff around the Jade Falcon pilots. You know, whether it's Aiden or whether it's Joanna or Diana and Horse, everybody loves them or seems to love them. And what's the point in having something you love if you don't use it? So we turned around and said, you know what, we've had, you know, Inner Sphere pilot decks and whatever else. Why not do a clan one and put the 4 big names in there?
Yeah, no, this one had a few iterations.
Yeah,
we definitely went over it a few times. I think it had different asset layouts. Right now it's an Assembly Munitions Tactics deck with 6 of each in it.
Yeah.
But which makes it very rounded out. But I think there was times where that asset loadout was different. I think there was a politic or a logistics in it at some point. We tried different things. Getting the units on this was a challenge. One of the problems we faced sticking to BattleTech Tactics cards is there is a great rounding out of all the units, but because we were restricting ourselves just to tactics cards, it meant that maybe there was only 1 or 2 in those cost brackets, right? Or that hit the abilities we wanted. A great card that you might want to put in this deck is the classic Thor, right? But we just didn't do it because of sticking to tactics, right?
Yeah, well, we did put the token F variant in, but yes, the original one would fit in here quite nicely. And I think the other thing when we were looking at it and we're saying, well, is it ALT or is it ATP or whatever else? All the units that you want to put in here, a load of them have got M's. You know, the little Ullas, the Spirits, the little Fire Falcons, etc., etc. And it just made so much sense. We completely ignored it and tried to get rid of it. We just said, you know what, we're going to need M. Let's put M in. And I think as soon as we did that, a lot of the troubles kind of unravelled, and we came out with something that we're pretty happy with. I like the unit mix on this. There's a number of good units. It's quite fast. There's possibly a few more fasts in here. Maybe 1 or 2 of the other decks, or is it maybe there's a few more moderates? I'm not quite sure.
I think it's just more moderate than no slows. The only slow is the Niger.
Yeah, that big one. Yeah.
And that makes a big difference whenever you're playing, whenever you don't have slow max, right? Because I was comparing to what you were talking about earlier about its balance to another deck that people are going to find out when your play video goes up, and there's actually the same number of fasts in both decks. But there's no slows in this deck, really, right? That you're going to be playing much of.
Yeah, no early slows. Yeah.
One thing we also did in most of the decks, we didn't really cover it in Marik. We don't have to go over it in every deck. People can feel free to look them up. But we tried to include, wherever it made any lick of sense or utility, the ultimate cards. So these are scrapped from, removed from game when played cards. So they're one-off plays that Michael and Chester built, and we tried to include them in most of the faction decks as well. It's going to be some repetition if you end up buying multiple decks or getting multiple decks, but they do make an appearance and they make a big difference, right? The Marik one was returning units. This one is because I just lost it.
Flight of the Jade Falcon. This
Okay,
is gross.
yeah.
Yeah.
You use it, so you might as well if you want to describe it. But
Well, I'm asking for a bit of clarification on this as well. It says activate only during the beginning of your missions phase, so it's kind of like a lured into bog, but it's the start of the mission phase. And by lured into bog, I mean when you activate it at the start before everything else happens. So this goes down, your mission phase triggers, and you put this straight out so everyone knows what's on the table. Okay.
yeah, and
Right.
it stays active the entire mission phase.
Yeah, and then you scrap it. Okay. Well, you remove it from the game, so you can't black market it back and do this again. Once during every battle this turn, you may choose an opposing engaged unit, untap it, and remove it from the battle. So if somebody single blocks you, you just untap it. Yes, yes, basically. Steel Talons without a roll. If they double block, then you can still remove one unit of your choice. You know, if they're blocking with something small and something big, you can. Well, if I'm going to die to the biggie, I'll remove the biggie and spank the hell out of the small one. Or if it's the other way round, you're going to take the hit from the large guy and untap the small one. It's your choice. My clarification is, when does this happen? Because it kind of, because it's not a mission, do you have to wait till it's your part of the missions phase because you have initiative? Or do you declare it when they declare blockers? Or can you use it when it's your part after they've played mission cards?
I would make the assumption, just the assumption, that it takes effect during your initiative step.
Yeah.
Of the initiative, like when you would play a mission, that's when it would take in your initiative step. If you won initiative, that's when you take it. If you lost initiative and you'd play a mission, that's when you use it. That's what my assumption would be. But I get looking for that clarification from Michael. Absolutely. Yeah. So
I mean, if this said do that after blockers were declared, then you are removing the option to negate a mission card effectively, because he might block
negate a mission card or an overheat or
yeah. And the other thing with the depletion rules is if he depletes and you remove it, it untaps, but it should stay depleted.
Yes, but that means it's back in the battle next turn, right? Because
it's yes. But it does mean that you can attack it because it's depleted and not take anything back. So yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else have we got in here?
Come with the 4 big pilots themselves.
Right? Right. So
Jade and Pride is the kind of the king of it, right? He runs +2 attack, +2 initiative for 4, but he's got a risky combat jump built in, basically. Plus a massive killer. Opponent gets -2 initiative. That's you're on a 4 initiative swing when you play Aiden, right? It can shut down your opponent's ability to play missions, plus you have the ability to play 2 missions, plus he's got a built-in mission. He's just a monster. But I think the real, and Joanna herself as well, is another kind of solo one who kind of gets that dueling ability out. No mission or command card, just two max battle, right? But the real treasure in this deck, because it gives you the swinging cards, I think, is Diana, Pride, and Horse. And I think you mentioned that before as well, right? You were asking about a horse price comparison.
Yeah.
They let you search the stockpile, start heap, and hand for each other, right? And may deploy and activate without paying construction cost, without it being a deployment either. So there's other cards that won't trigger, but getting two out for the price of 1 is always good, right? And again, you're talking about a big swing, right? So
you're talking a huge swing. This ability is basically the O'Bannon sister ability. You get one, you get the other, and you put him out. Okay. My query with this, or comment about this, is Horse is 2 politics. Now, if you're not paying politics, that's basically a 4 buyout, 4 with the buyouts for 3T. And in that respect, at that point, he's the same as Diana. So you pay 4, you get 2 pilots, which, considering the value of the pilots, is great. You know, these guys for 1 extra compared to the Abandoned Sisters, there's no comparison. Seriously, what they bring. But if you're buying Diana at 4 to get horse for 2, okay, that's fine. But if you're playing politics and you get horse out for 2, you get
think tank, right?
you get Diane. Yeah, sure. Well, that's why we put it in there. My point is, if you're playing politics and you pay horse for 2, you're getting Diana for free. Now, paying 2 for a horse is cheaper than the O'Bannon sisters, and you're getting 2 better pilots. Diana's basically got the intimidating paint job built in at -1 attack from everything, and horse is basically the Chaos March veteran, where he gets +2 attack in combat, that kind of soul armor warrior type thing. I was surprised at that being P. I'd have thought that would have been a straight 4. 4-3T is what the others are. Aiden is 4-3T, Joanna's 3, Diana is 4. Note with Aiden that you have to have him on a unit with jump in order to trigger the risky combat jump roll.
Yes.
The jump, you use the jump ability, but it makes no effect, so you don't get any initiative, you don't get any minus attack, you get the risky combat jump roll, and that, as you said, that -2 initiative is worth way more than people think it is. So
being able to constantly control the tempo of battle is huge, right? And Aiden needing jump also affected this deck's loadout. Something to talk about. We needed to make sure we had enough jump mechs in it to make it worth Aiden. I know he's 1 card, but he's a big card, right? And there's also I am Jade Falcon. One of the missions requires jump as well, right? So,
I mean, I am Jade Falcon on a mech with Aiden, and you rolled nicely on that. Is what's that? 3 damage to yourself because you prevent 2 with +10. He gives you +2, and risky gives you +3. So that's plus.
I'd say that was on the. If you had that on the Summoner F, it's a bigger one. That's 6 damage on its base, and it's got 2 armor, so you're only taking 1 damage, right?
And you're
doing akin to overheat 3 for +8.
If you could pull that off, that's great. One other little thing to mention is in this deck, because we felt some of the units were maybe a little chunky, we put a clan mech factory in, just the one, and I think we ended up with 1 think tank, 1 clan mech factory, 2 BMC and 2 war funds. Okay. So,
Clan Mech Factory is a great generic card. We'll see some of the Inner Sphere ones that are similar, but Clan Mech Factory is a generic clan card. Tap for 2 resources, gain an additional deployment, or draw a card, and it gives you assembly. So it's kind of like a smaller improved construction facility mixed with a Steel Viper
R&D team.
R&D team, yes, thank you. And it gives you some utility. Right, that extra deployment for free too is never to be sniffed at, right? So, especially in a deck that has 4 pilots.
And to be honest, the draw a card ability is useful as well, or tap for 2 resources. It's very flexible. Yes. Yeah. So
is there anything in the missions that are?
Well, we've done I am Jade Falcon. I would just Caught in the Field of Fire. There are a number of, I think not so much the fast mechs, but the moderate mechs in here. Each of your mechs gets +1, fast get +1, and prevent 1 damage to them. It gives you fast mechs survivability. And that.
Your fast mechs get an additional +1, so they get +2.
2, yes. Prevent 1. Yeah.
So that makes it great. Like there's.
And then Blade as well, and Pride of the Trueborn is another risky combat jump.
Yes, and Pride of the Trueborn is one of those missions I would argue became an auto include for all 3 of its factions, I believe. It's just you just have to have a faction allocated mech, and it's risky combat jump, which makes it As many people know, Risky's probably one of my favorite missions from the original
Hmm.
card loadouts. Mark's had to chide me a few times on having too many of them in my decks, and so having them in this deck in spades is kind of fun for me. But
Well, the thing to mention here is you do not need a jump mech for this. This
no,
is
you
just
don't.
any mech. But the effects of take 2 damage on a 1/2 or prevent 2 and do 3 damage on top on 2/3 of the rolls, 3 to 6. You're right. If this isn't in those particular faction decks, then it's been moved out because someone wants to put a Viper's Maw in or a Steel Talons in. But you're probably still gonna you're probably gonna have 1 or 2 of these in the deck. Whether you have the third is probably, am I going to put the other mission in or something or other like that. It's a very, very good mission. Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to talk about the Black Lantern H quickly, or are you going to highlight that
Black
in
Lantern
the
H.
game?
It wasn't the H actually that I was thinking of. It was the sideboarded one. So
Oh, in the DSR.
yes. So let's go.
C.
Let's go
Yeah.
to the sideboard now.
Absolutely.
And again, we've got two mechs, two mechs, 2 of each, 4 units, 4 more missions, and 4 commands. This little beastie looks quite expensive at 8. It's a 175 fast, Jade Falcon and Steel Viper only, Black Lantern C. And it's got a nice overheat. It does 5 with another 3 on top of that, so it'll kill most resources on an 8. But you have this mask ability. And what happens here is you build your Black Lantern C, and it sits in the constructed region until the end of your turn normally, and then you would put it in the patrol region. This unit, because it has mask, can attack from that position straight away. So it's kind of like an effective dash. But if you do that, you deplete it at the end of the round. But that can have quite an interesting effect if you want to get rid of that resource and slow your opponent down, and you're happy to take the depletion on this. Then that's a good option. There might be something else you want to do with it, but don't underestimate that mask.
To a stockpile unexpected is never to be underestimated, especially when you could easily, that's a Jade Falcon card, so it's easy to put any of the pilots or missions into a play on it, right? So
yes, yeah. If you think about what we said about the Thor doing 16, you can get more out of that. You can get 18 out of this because it's 5. You've got all the other stuff. So this Jade Falcon deck has the ability to dish out an awful lot of damage if you're not careful. So what else?
So as we look at the sideboard too, we the other unit we included, we went beefy on both of the sideboard units in this one, because the main deck runs a lot of the Oolers and Kit Foxes with ECM and are a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
But we went with the Phoenix Hawk 2C, and it shows up in a lot of decks because it is a clan generic. It's been around for a while, but at 6 for 3/7/4 moderate with AP and jump, we really felt this compares to the Gargoyle that everybody loves, Prime that everybody loves to run, right? So, and things like that. So, the Man of War. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean the thing with this is you've got a beefy moderate with jump, where the Man of War, the Gargoyle, doesn't have that. This has got Aiden Pride, I Am Jade Falcon written all over it. So if you're trying to pull that combo off, having another mid-range beefy unit is a good alternative to the Thor. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the decks that got a Counter-Strike card. Chester's a huge fan of Superior Navigation, so he looked for a deck where it would fit. This is the deck that got it. Just kind of fits with the theme. You get that mask out with that Superior Nav, and it's brutal. The cool piece of text in this, again, the tech really comes from the commands we're finding, because they did a great job of rounding these out, making them more playable. Ejection system, 0 cost, 1 tactics. You may immediately reassign any pilot assigned to a unit, to an unengaged unit you control. Just helps you save those 4 big pilots if you get it.
And it's a free deploy, and you draw a card.
Yes. Yeah.
What's not to like?
absolutely great. Assault Cadre is an interesting little piece of tech. You lose the initiative, and each of your engaged units gets +1 attack. If your opponent plays any further missions cards, each of your engaged units get an additional attack. So basically, you're getting a mission ability out of your opponent. I've never been a huge fan of relying on what your opponent's going to do, but I think it's an interesting piece. And losing the initiative when you've got something like Aiden Pride out that's already giving you a 4 initiative swing can be an interesting spot to be. I'm sure there's some stuff that could come up that way, but yeah.
Aiden is an interesting example because where is he? He gives -2 initiative. So,
but you can still choose to lose the initiative even though you've got +4 on your opponent.
You have to with Assault Cadre. So this is worth a little bit of discussion for anybody who's not familiar or can't quite see. So Aiden gives you +2 initiative. Your opponent gets -2 initiative. So you're at +2, maybe +3 if you've got tactics in there. He's at -1, -2, depending on what's on the table. You still lose initiative if you use Assault Cadre, which means you must declare first. However, you're not so worried about that because his ability to play mission cards is either diminished by Aiden because he's got -2 initiative, or if he's got a pilot and he plays a mission card, it gives your units an additional +1 and a prevent +1. Now, what you need to appreciate is that the mission cards tend to do one of two things: either increase damage or reduce incoming damage. So whatever they do, it actually might make it harder for them to actually kill off one of your units by playing more mission cards. So it kind of deters them from playing those mission cards, even if they do have the option, because they're just making it harder on themselves. It's the more you try and push something, the more it sticks. I can't forget it. I'm doing science. Let's not do science.
It's okay. The last piece of tech would be flexible battle plan, really. And again, it has that ability that says when your opponent plays a mission card, that mission card has no effect. So I say again, in the respect that this deck, especially when you take into effect its sideboard, has the ability to kind of control initiative tempo fairly well, and to really remove your opponent's options for missions. And I mean, if you play that, you're now swinging cards on them as well, right? Yeah. Anytime you can shut down a game-winning mission, right, you've now pretty much swung the tempo.
Well, the other thing to say is that if you put Assault Cadre on the table and you've got a flexible battle plan, you wait for them to play a mission card, which does nothing because you play flexible battle plan, and then you trigger the +1 attack and prevent 1 damage on the Assault Cadre. So literally, for the combo, you've just given yourself +1 damage, plus prevent 1 initiative, and nullified their mission card, which is that's a huge swing potentially. So
absolutely
cool.
That's the Jade Falcon big pilot deck, I think.
Yep. So are we're on to Davion next, aren't we?
Davion, yeah, the Davion Overheat deck.
Yeah. Is this one of yours, or is this one of mine?
This is my baby.
This is your baby. Yeah.
Yeah, this was one of my babies. I'm a big, for Inner Sphere, I'm a big Federated Commonwealth fan, which is when Steiner and Davion combined. And I have companies of Davion battle mechs painted up. So this was interesting too, because this is one of the decks that does not include the faction super card. The Davion faction super card leans into Alpha Strike, but when we were building this, the Davion units really like Overheat, thus Davion Overheat deck. It's got a pretty standard breakdown. It's assembly, logistics, and tactics 5, 6, 7. So the most it has in it is tactics, which is a little bit of a change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it runs 2 Akranar Battle Mech Works, which is similar to the Clan Mech Factory, but it's the Inner Sphere side of it. So all of the main houses in the Inner Sphere have one of these, including the Wolf's Dragoons. And they cost 3. They give you an assembly. They're a 3/3/2, so when they are attacked, they do damage back. But they give you tap for 2 resources, or and this is why it's really heavy in this deck when you're thinking about an overheat deck. Choose one or more Davion affiliated units, repair up to 4 damage to one of them, or up to 3 split between them, which then gives you the ability to heal with an assembly out, because it counts as assembly, for upwards of 5 on a unit, right? That's hard to, if someone's healing 4 or 5 on a unit every turn, it's pretty hard to overcome that too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All I was going to say is just make sure that it is a Davion affiliated, because otherwise you're healing nothing.
Yes, and this deck is about 50-50. I think it's a little bit heavier Davion, but there is Inner Sphere.
Yeah.
So leaning into overheat, this deck has 2 pieces of tech that are really going to help out. Before we even go into the units, because I think talking about the pilots first might help.
Sure.
So it's like I said, pilots are great. It runs 2 generic pilots, not even Davion pilots, Laser Brain and the Arsonist. Laser Brain first is interesting because it's a tutor card, right? When you play Laser Brain, units receive no overheat damage, which is great. But when you activate Laser Brain, you may search your stockpile for any arrow fighter or mech with 2 large lasers or 4 of more lasers of any type in its main armament, show it and put it in your hand and shuffle your stockpile, right? So it's kind of got that War Funds ability, right? Helps you thin your deck and go looking for units. And because of that ability specifically, it really forced us to look at what we were building or putting in for units. The other pilot is the Arsonist. And when the Arsonist use overheat, it gets an additional +2 attack and receives no overheat damage. So kind of like the old Red Line pilot, right? The difference with this one is it's a mech or arrow fighter pilot, and it has the vehicles. Sorry, unit piloted by Arsonist does not roll for scrapping. So your arrow fighter gets out of its vehicle scrap roll, basically.
Yeah.
If you have it on there. And then that leads you into the units. And this has a really nice unit curve. There's a discussion to be made between this and the Steiner deck on the costing between Overheat and Alpha Strike, because they're similar decks. I know I'm diverging a little bit.
No, it's fine.
But it really was a good study, I think, because you have 2 decks that are built almost in parallel. Inner Sphere for this stuff, we leaned obviously heavy into Overheat, which meant we had a mixture of Davion and Inner Sphere units. That Devastator at 7 cost, no buyouts, is one of the bigger units in the deck for Davion.
And
then everything is...
The Ostol as well is up there.
Ostol 6D, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Ostol 6D, it's running 2 ER large lasers, so you can tutor it out with Laser Brain. It's got Overheat 4+3. You're going to ignore that with your pilots, as well as the mission loadouts we've put in this deck really benefit Overheat, obviously. But if you look, TSM is another Overheat option. So now you're talking about Overheat 4+3 with the Arsonist to give you +2, so now you're at +5, but then you hit TSM, and you are at another +3 from the Arsonist, right? Because every time you use Overheat, you get an additional +2.
TSM.
So you can see where
TSM being
TSM 1 on the Ostol 6D, Overheat 1 +1 hand-to-hand attack usable against units the same speed or slower.
Yes.
So
you can use both the overheat options and the bonus triggers on both, basically.
Yeah. So there's some great building there. In the cost curve, there's some great tech. If you want to quickly look at some of them, the Raven 2X costs 1. It's a 1/4/2 moderate, Overheat 1+1. So right away, you're into a great cost curve, and you're into your overheat abilities. The Rifleman 3N, the old faithful within the BattleTech universe. This is why it has more logistics than, say, assembly, because you want that logistics early for some of these low-cost units. That Overheat 3+2 becomes quite good when you have those pilots or some of the missions that can really help you swing. And that, even though it's only a 2/4, it's not super tough at 6 to kill, and an overheat of 3. You're still looking at a 5 damage output, and with an arsonist, you're now at 7. Right? So,
And it's 2 large lasers, 2 medium lasers. It's laser brain food if you wish.
laser brain fodder, absolutely.
Yeah.
The 4 lasers of any choice is where I would have argued with Michael and Chester that they should have included small lasers in the weapons loadouts, because there are mechs within this that have small lasers that would have been searchable under that, right?
Okay.
Just a thought. Just a personal thing. Yeah, a lot of the fast in this deck leans into the inner sphere. The only real fast in the Davion is the Osiris. 0/4/3 fast, overheat 2/2, and a jump.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind, and that is a design issue that comes up through a lot of decks. Is there is repetition in the generic units to fill some of the brackets, and you'll see that in the clans with the Arctic Cheetah B. You're going to see that in the Inner Sphere with the Cicada 3F at 4 cost, and I think the other one that was at the Tarantula ZPH1 at 2 cost. They're great units, and they're good. They fit everywhere, right? And they're fast. Going into the mission loadouts on this one, there's a lot that are just overheat related. Redline Berserker. Choose an engaged unit you control with overheat. It gets +2 attack and receives no overheat damage when using overheat options. That's self-explanatory. Something the old man said is a great little piece of generic tech or inner sphere tech that lets you prevent 2 damage. So again, that's going to help with your overheat. If not scrapped, you get to draw the card.
Simultaneous combat drop.
Yeah, simultaneous combat drop is the elephant in the room. The other missions are good, but simultaneous combat drop is your game winner. It is a game winner when you're playing it. Play only when attacking, and only if you have logistics and 2 initiative. So that's the hard part. You're jumping, or you need something else there, right? It counts as playing 2 mission cards, because this deck, the pilots don't give initiative, right? So divide your attacking units into 2 groups. Opponent chooses 1 group. Prevent all damage to units in that group, but they may deal all their damage to the target. Deplete all those units at the end of the mission. So basically you attack with everything, you split it into, say you got 6 units of 3 and 3. Your opponent gets to choose their poison, right? But if you're hitting with 3 units with overheat, you're probably getting close into the double digits. You're probably close to 20 damage, to be honest, right? You're probably sitting 12 to 18 damage, right? That's your game winner, right? It's hard to come back from that.
Yeah.
So
just a small point on that. You need the 2 initiative, and one of the limit. There's only 1 in the deck, and the reason there's only 1 in the deck is your Cicada, the 3F, is one of your few jumpers. You have the Phoenix Hawk, and the Osiris. So you have to be a little careful with how you manage that initiative. There's enough there with 6. Your other option is, in fact, there isn't another option. So you have to be a little careful with the conditions required to trigger that, and that's why there's only 1 in the deck in that respect.
You're forced. You're going to be attacking with 1 of your jump units, and it's the only time we played the jump initiative game, right? So, there's another cool piece of tech. Ian McKinnon. He's a command, unique. They choose to win or lose the initiative, so you don't have the Davion Ultra card, but you got this. All your engaged units get an additional attack and gain additional armor, so it helps your overheat. It gives you and choosing to win or lose initiative when you're playing an overheat deck is essential, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be applying overheat and then taking your damage. So.
Or don't forget to play your simultaneous combat drop, and then whichever one doesn't get blocked, tap him on that one. and it gives everything another +1. So,
Yeah.
okay.
The sideboard has a lot of the same deck in this one. Few little differences. Archer's Christofori is a pilot with +2 initiative, so that would give you your simultaneous combat drop.
Yeah.
Archer and his Penetrator are two things that I was kind of big on getting into the game. They're great characters out of the book series. Archer Christofori is literally Robin Hood in BattleTech. And his Penetrator is loaded with clan tech, has a huge overheat and jump, and intimidating on it. One cool piece of technology, though, there's only one of it in the sideboard. Salvage clan double heat sinks. Do you want to show that quickly? And
got that? Yeah. We're fine. Yeah.
But choose any number of clan mechs in your opponent's scrap heap. So obviously it's only going to work in half of your matches, and remove from the game. For each one, choose one of your inner sphere line mechs and put a clan heatsink token on it. Mechs with clan heatsink tokens do not take overheat damage.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. And
0-3.
Yes, and remove them from the game. So
those can't be BMC back or anything like that.
Yeah. That is incredibly strong for 0-3A. The overheat option on that again is really, really strong. It's just very specific. If you're not playing clan, it's worthless, which is why it's in the sideboard and not the main deck.
There's a marksman pilot. She's overheat and Alpha Strike don't have a negative. But the other piece that's in here, that we tried to include arrow fighters in a lot of decks. They're a favorite of Chester's, obviously, and they are a new piece of tech to just, again, get people access to a different angle of BattleTech tactics. This one has the Sparrowhawk with long range and maneuver, and as another fast in the battle. So that's kind of the main things about the Davion deck. I think unless I'm missing something.
Oh, the only one I'd add is the Sagittaire. If you want a big, then there you go. It's an awesome piece of art, But yes.
Yeah. Awaiting orders is a mission that we have one in the sideboard and one in the deck. So maybe quickly take a mission card from your scrap heap, put it in your hand. If you play another mission card during this battle, all your Davion affiliated units get +1 attack. Obviously, that's a challenge because there's not a lot of double initiative to get you 2 mission cards out. But this is included in the sideboard with Archer, like I said, and with a jump mech. So there's that.
Yeah.
Wolf in Exile?
Wolf in Exile is next. I think this is one we've mulled over many, many times.
Yes, this was a challenge. We tried to do it right. It's obviously a favorite of Chester's. He likes his Wolf in Exile. And it's a new faction. So we wanted to do it as right as we could. And really see what it brought to the table. There was definitely different iterations of this. One was a lot more combat oriented. Now it's a lot more politics oriented. Wolf in Exile as a faction, when you look at their commands, their pilots, and some of their missions, they have the ability to really, while on the defense, while blocking usually, to tap and untap and move mechs around the battlefield, which can create a unique and dynamic playing experience, I think. Their challenge becomes that they are exclusively only going to have access to clan generic units and the new BattleTech Tactics units, obviously because they are a new faction. And rounding out like a stable unit setup, I think, was a challenge with these guys.
Yeah, and to our credit, I'm going to say this: I think we've only got one clan generic unit in here, which is the 3-cost Puma Jade.
Yeah. Everything else is an Exile of some sort, which I think is great. Again, I pointed out there's a lot of decks that we didn't. We have a fair few generics.
Yeah. I mean, certainly there's a couple of 3-cost Pumas. We could have put that in every deck. And again, you end up with more Pumas than you've got Wolf Hunts, Not the best situation. So we
Yeah,
tried.
it came down. Well, the Pumos were nice, and there was 2 options that we
Yeah.
kind of picked between them.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at some of the commands, quick, we've got the resources in here. It's 8 assembly, 6 tactics, and 4 politics. So it's kind of going to play like a wolf politics deck.
Yeah.
With 2 black markets, a clan mech factory, 2 war funds, right?
Yeah.
The 1 think tank.
Yeah.
So once you move beyond that, you've got the unique brings back units from the scrap heap that were scrapped last turn, puts them in your hand. So that's another black market in many respects, right? But then you get into the abilities. And so you got, why don't I go to Con, Fail, and Kill right away?
There you go then.
Yeah, so just getting into some of the abilities. So he's one of your kill cards. It's not as good as a straight kill, but it's still going to leave your opponent in a bad spot. So it counts as Phelan when in play, as a unique, so you're not going to be playing your Phelan pilot or anything else, right? But untap all of your units, use this during your end phase. And he's pretty hard to remove from the board as a 5/3/2. In this deck, you're probably going to pay 3 for him, but the ability to attack and then defend freely is really good.
Yeah.
Do you mind going to Jer Carnes?
Fine, she's next up.
Yep. You may tap Mech Pilot by Jer Carnes to have it join the battle. Use this ability only during a battle and only when blocking. You gain +1 initiative on your opponent's turn. So you're going to be on the defense, and you're going to be +2 initiative if she's jumping into the battle, because she gives you 1, and you're already on the defense, so it's your opponent's turn, so you're +2 there, right? Here's where you start seeing the tap to add to battle and kind of affect things. It doesn't say when, right? It doesn't say when you're declaring your blockers, so you could add this to battle when you need to, right? To swing it.
Yeah.
After mission, your opponent plays a mission, whatever else. Ulrich Kerensky's Legacy.
Yep.
So this is one of the few legacies we included. Again, for new faction. It's Wolf or Wolf in Exile, which is kind of nice. So from a collection perspective, you're going to get both. But untap up to 2 of your engaged units. Use this ability only at the end of a battle. Again, there's that kind of tap to play effect. Followed by, if you look at Wolf in Exile High Command, choose any Wolf in Exile affiliated unit you control and tap it. If it's not already tapped, it joins the battle. Remove a unit you control from battle and untap it, right? Here's that ability. Like, you're really gonna be able to play with what's out there, right? We found the missions were not super strong for Wolf in Exile, which gave us some challenges. So those commands are really gonna be, yes, a lot of them are uniques or pilots, but having 1 or 2 of them on the table is gonna really create some initiative swings for you, right? Some tempo swings.
Yeah, so you know, the thing here is to block with something that's maybe weak and fast, and then swap it out and bring in something that's slow heavy and just absorbs the damage and obliterates the opponent, kind of thing.
Yeah. The units are pretty split. Crimson Hawk makes another appearance. I think it's in every deck that it can play in. Again, it's a great 2 cost, 0/4/3, overheat 1, long range 2, and jump.
Yeah.
Moderate. Like, it's just a great card.
Yeah.
The Wolf love their Ice Ferrets, Fenrises, and Mana Wars, so that's thematic and it fits. And then you've got your Phantom and Pouncers. What I like as a tech perspective is the Wolfhound 4W and Grinner. They're just a nice touch. Wolf in Exile basically became a wolf clan that pretty much joined the Inner Sphere. So having some Inner Sphere units gives it some flavor. And Grinner is Phelan Kell's personal ride. It is a monster if you have your buyouts covered. 4 for a 1/5/5 moderate ECM long range 1 with intimidating paint job is that's a great unit.
It's a great bargain, isn't it? Yeah.
There's a few missions in here, but again, the mission package is not crazy. Nothing that I'm really thinking is.
They're just a variety and supportive.
Yeah.
You know, you
You're
could.
going to get a lot out of the Sword of Honor, probably.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of Wolf in Exile.
Yeah. The one I'm just thinking of, because there's another card that's in my head, the original temporary ceasefire where you block, roll a dice, 1, nothing happens, 2 to 6, no mechs deal any damage. This is kind of forget the die roll and you scrap your unit. So this is where you have your little locust facing an army of Daishis, and you just roll this or play this and scrap it, and then nothing happens. It's a if used well, it can be quite an effective card in that respect to nullify your opponent. Yeah, the missions are variety and supportive in that respect. Most of the power comes from the actual command cards themselves. What do we put in the sideboard?
So sideboard, we got the other Puma, so both of them are in the deck. So there's the Adder H. Pack
Yes.
Hunter 3 goes into your Mask ability again. So 5 for a 1/4/4 fast, but it's got Mask and it has Jump. Right? So it gets that depletion out of, because it's a fast unit with Mask, it gets the option to dash, right?
So
the Howl.
Okay, the Howl, yes, the Howl.
Subterfuge that we included, scrap when revealed, but not during a mission's phase, but not during a mission. Choose a mech in your scrap heap with base cost 5 or less and put it into play, guarding your stockpile. So that's great. 5 or less, there's quite a few mechs in here. But also, what?
You could get Grinner.
you could get Grinner, yeah.
Yeah. The bigger Fenris and the Phantoms are the obvious ones if you want to kill something. Depends what you want, but you basically and you get to keep that. It goes into play.
Yes, that's what I wanted to highlight. It doesn't, unlike a lot of the missions and commands that are like this, it does not say scrap it, put it back in your stockpile, or put it in your hand at the end of the mission. It just stays there. Right? So it's effectively 2 more units in your rotation.
Well, the other thing is you're paying 3 cost for a 5 cost unit. So effectively, you on your resource curve, you gain 2 units, 2 resources that turn.
Absolutely.
We added Marco, didn't we?
Yeah. Intimidating paint job, basically. +2 attack, +2 initiative. He's just a great pilot.
Yeah.
There's a little piece of cool tech.
Yeah.
Leo showers. This is the piece that doesn't make any thematic sense whatsoever. This was put in because it fits. And it was, we tried to include some of the modified cards that they designed just to get them back in for playability. And obviously Leo Showers, being clan generic and a politics buyout, fits perfectly in the deck of politics. And his new mod abilities of draw a card, tap draw a card, or pay a resource, tap draw a card, and gain additional deployment.
For 1.
Obviously, they're just
great.
Yeah, for 1 are just great abilities, right? He's the Ilkon. He died before Wolf in Exile showed up, but he's in the deck.
Well, you get the impression that he's a picture on the wall as they walk up the stairs, or on the landing, or something like that. Or the Hall of Fame or something or other. Yes, yeah. And so again,
this is one of those times where it was the card for playability, but it fits well. So, and especially if you're thinking that's in the DSR side, that's going to give you a lot of tempo in DSR.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first 4. I think, but, Oh, what?
Well, all I was going to say is just more missions, giving you more variety. If you want to go hunting, you play Stalk, you play. If you want survivability, you put in Glancing Blow, etc., etc., etc. So
defensive rotation's another one of the kind of tech-based ones. It's a mission, right? But it lets you untap and change units that are in battle, right? When you're on the blocking. So it leans back into that. But
cool.
Okay.
Right, next one on the list. The next one on the list. Go on.
Would be Kurita.
Yes, this is.
If you want
to. Yeah, I think this is yours. I think again, I think we played around with Kurita quite a bit because there are a number of options. I mean, you can try and turn it into a C3 deck. You can turn it into a kind of hand-to-hand melee type deck. Um,
When you're looking at the actual Kuritan options,
yes,
the
yes.
grand kind.
And I
But
think,
there's not enough hand-to-hand to really build a deck, we found.
yeah, and I think the other thing is that there are abilities in here, like Tag, for example, that don't feature as strongly in other factions. And
Yes.
I think in the end we decided that Kurita was the place to put them if we were going to use them. Um,
Yeah, well, I had originally built, so you don't get to blame me for this deck.
oh,
Um,
you blame
this
me,
is
blame
definitely
me
a
for
high.
everything. I don't mind.
No. Because I know there's cards in this deck I played, and even when I was playing Chester with them and testing it, I was like, I hate this card, but it's in the deck because it fits. Um,
Oh, I know exactly which Strider you mean.
but no, this originally, like, there's a cool Kurita thematic hand-to-hand samurai-esque deck you can build. The problem with that deck was that it was assembly tactics only,
Mm.
and there was no point in diverging at all into logistics, politics, or munitions. And you really challenged us as a team to not only diverge standard building, but to try to get to that 3 resource and have options. So that's where this was born. As an LMT deck, it actually matches in many respects the OG Kurita deck, which makes combining the two, if you buy them or have them, easy, right?
Okay.
It runs one kind of different resource. So Michael Chester designed ammunition resources to really start helping certain units, primarily missiles and Alpha Strike or autocannons. And again, even the ammunition stockpiles, while it grants you munitions, it kind of triggers off of using tag and allowing one of your mechs to target missiles. So tag is something. It's almost automatic of the C3 unit, and it says tap one of your unengaged units and assign its missiles to an unengaged unit. So then you need to have the tag, and then you need to have missiles. So this deck can be a little bit slower because it's a little bit combo-y, right? If you're looking at the units in it, it has a lot of cheaper units with C3 and the Owens and the Striders. So pairing them up gives you starts tempoing up your damage. But then they all have tag, which lets you then tie in those missiles. So where you're getting the missiles from? Well, there's primarily 3 good missile units. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2 longbows, 1 at 2 cost with missile 3, which is a great little unit just to try to scare people. The Ha-Toko at 4 cost, missile 3, overheat 2, so it's not stuck on its own. And then the longbow 12C, which is missile 5, which just gets ridiculous, right? If you're adding that into a battle. And then the option always remains that you can just attack with your C3, not use your tag to try to kill something, and then just send those missiles at your opponent's stockpile. Yeah, the Strider.
You hate them.
Paying
I know you
2 for 0 damage. I will be clear with everybody. This is my least favorite unit in BattleTech. It's a free deployment. Great, but it still costs you 2. It's only a moderate. It is an Omni. This is one of the few Intersphere decks that runs battle armor, so you do get that out of it. But it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
The Void battle armor are kind of a cool little addition. You're getting into Intersphere battle armor. It has a few abilities. First ability to tap and deal 1 damage to any engaged units during a mission. Right? So it gives you utility on deployment. It's a free deploy. And it has stealth. Stealth is an interesting tactics ability they added. Each unit assigning damage to it gets -1 attack, so it's kind of a reverse blitzkrieg. It works in practicality, kind of like ECM in some respects. but it gets broader and broader, and it forces you to slow your opponent down and be like, hey, who's actually assigning damage where? But like I said, there's a lot of this combo between have C3 out, get your Owens out, and potentially tag in some missiles.
Yeah.
We got to step back. I apologize. It is a logistics, munitions, and tactics deck. 7 munitions, 7 tactics, 4 logistics. Like all the other decks, it seems that they seem to have at least one pilot. This one is the Assassin, which just lets you subtract or add 1 from any die roll from a missile fired. So again, that's going to help you with your missile numbers. Mark's got a great video on that, on how those work, and the Assassin really is one of those ones. It's a great one. This is a very mission-heavy deck. I think there's something like 7 or 8 missions.
Yeah.
Some of them are just generic. Armor Breach, I think it was you. And I've used it quite well a few times actually in play. Because choose an opposing unit. If that unit receives structure damage, roll a die. Doubling damage counters or scrapping the unit on a 3+ basically is always good, because this deck can struggle to get damage out early on. C3 Network Spotter.
Well, what I was going to say with Armor Breach is, I think it's a great little card. It's just where do you put it? And we hadn't put it in Marik, we hadn't put it in Steiner. So it kind of meant, let's put it in the Kurita then instead. Yeah. Well,
and it works so well because you can end up just tagging in, getting maybe 2 missiles, but then you play Armor Breach and double down the missiles and kill the unit, right?
Yeah.
So, C3 Network Spotter is pretty obvious in any C3 or C3I deck. It just turns on your C3 for you. But then you get into stuff like Effective Salvo. Tap any untapped engaged units you wish. These units may assign their missile dice to an opposing engaged unit. So kind of that tag ability, plus the dice roll modifier.
Yeah. And
this deck is very... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and potentially your Assassin. I mean, the Assassin on that bigger longbow and playing Effective Salvo, I mean, the chances are you're doing double-digit damage.
Very likely, yeah. And just to be clear, like, these decks were not just built and thrown together and said, like, I spent hours and hours testing these decks, and they're not all perfect by any stretch, but they are all playable, and they've all been tested against each other to a certain extent to make sure that, with maybe one exception, almost every deck has a chance against every other deck, right?
Yeah.
Right. Some of them are long chances, and I'll admit this Kurita deck, when I win with this deck, it's usually there's only a few cards left in my stockpile, but it's a great little combo deck. And let's face it, everybody loves seeing combos come off. You got a great card in here called Tactical Satellite Feed. If you want to find that, go back to the command. It's cheap and it's easy to kill. It's only a 1/1, right? So, and it's gonna draw fire. But all your engaged units may add or subtract 1 from the missile die rolls, right? May not be affected by other abilities, but it's a global effect, right? So that's pretty huge. And then there's still a few other missions that help round it out. This deck is very heavy in Kurita units, with the only non-Kurita being the longbows. So it can use a mission like Spirit of Core to help boost damage. Each of your engaged units with the proper affiliation, Kurita, get +2 attack. That's basically doubling your C3. Right? Night Mission, same idea, almost. Roll for each unit. And it gets +1 attack and +2 armor. Helps with the survivability of all those Owens. 1 or 2 little pieces of mission tech that I've come to love. 1/2 punch. For each point of non-missile damage assigned to a unit, you may choose a missile die assigned to that unit. That missile die deals double damage. So again, using your tag and your missiles to clear out big mechs. And Overconfidence is a great mission for this deck, because most of your units are, or a large portion of them are, your fast, light units. So you're almost always going to be outweighed which will give your opponent -2 attack, -2 armor, and if it's clan aligned, an additional -2/-2, right? So for an example, in the Kurita Smoke Jaguar, that's a -4.
Yeah.
Right, like that's huge.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Check the sideboard. What do we put in there?
Absolutely.
Ah, yes.
A lot of repetition.
This
is
in the missions. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the only one that's we got 1-2 punch and Night Watch. Night Watch again. Lucky grouping is a missile support type, and then Lay of the Land is
one of my favorites.
Yeah. Great prevention mission. This with the Owens gives them a lot of survivability across the board. We added the Samurai for those people that wanted to think they were playing with hand to hand.
Yeah.
But he's not a hand to hand guy. Basically, you get +1 attack and +1 armor across the board, which again is very strong. And also with the Owens running the kind of C3 stuff, then him on there again is very strong. And one of the reasons that there is only one black market in the deck, if I remember rightly, I'm pretty sure there's only one. Yes, there is only one. Yep. Is that we put Resurrection in the sideboard, which is scrap when revealed and choose 2 Omni units. And of course, Mitch can bring back his Striders because they are Omni units, but also note that those Owens are all Omni units as well. So yeah, that was the nice bit in there. What did we add unit wise? We went
basically
a bit heavy, didn't we? The Archer at 5 with Missile 3, and then some more stuff. I think this deck has got to win the prize for most card text, because practically everything has got C3, tag, BAP, jump, this, that, and the other, everything over it. It's got to have the most letters of any card, any deck. At least we made.
Fire of Kurita makes its way into the sideboard on this one, not the main deck, so that's their unique. And it's just a +1 attack for each unit in your control region, so it's pretty generic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be House Kurita. The next would be Smoke Jaguar.
Smoke Jag. Smoke Jag.
So this was another deck that saw a lot of revision.
Yes, because I think
first deck
I think originally it was an elemental deck. I think the first iteration was an elemental deck, and that ended up going somewhere else. Is this one of mine? I can't remember. Or
I would say that's the mix more of you, and I pushed for a couple of little things like.
We always changed anything. Whatever happened, we changed anything. Change that for that, put that in. So, right. Yeah. So,
this is the first deck. It's another 18 resource deck. Semi-missions tactics.
6 of each.
It's the first one that has. It's the first one that has 26 resources in it.
Yes. Yes.
And the resource units.
Yeah, and to keep Chester happy, we put 2 double overtime in there, alongside the resource unit Theta, which is tap, activate one of your units under construction with a base cost of 9 or more. That's within 4 resources of being constructed. So if you followed any of the DSR stuff, this was one I played around with earlier, and the unit that I picked out at the time to play this on was the wonderful Cauldron-born or Ebon Jaguar D. My friend Neil Rawlings would call this a snotty piece of clan tech. With the amount of firepower that's on such a small chassis, but paying because of the resource unit Theta within 4 units of 4 resources of being constructed, so effectively you can tap it with this thing on 5 resources and it's built, and at that point you have a 278 long range 1 moderate on the table, and your opponent is looking at 2 blackjacks or something like that. So the amount of firepower that this can bring out very early is quite considerable, and I think the amount of firepower is probably what typifies this deck quite a lot. And I think when we
Yes.
looked at it at the end, we said, this is quintessentially Smoke Jag. We
This is a
will
lot of just in your face. Yeah.
we will die trying, but we will take you, everything in the near vicinity, and possibly the rest of the planet with us when we do. So when we look at the units, we have a reasonably nice cost curve. We have the little Koshi H, the ubiquitous Arctic Cheetah B, which seemed to fit in a lot of clan decks because it was a 2-cost. And the slightly bigger brother Koshi, both at 3/3 with this one anti-missile and BAP, and then the other one with BAP jump and the ATM option. But for 2-cost, a 3/0/3/3 fast can provide reasonable pressure. And then upping into the 3-cost category, we have the Cougar D, and the more I look at this, the more I like this card. For 3-cost, you're doing 4 damage. You have long range 1 and an L for strike 2 on top of it. So that's pretty pokey. We have the Cougar A, which is a 1/4/1 missile 4.
You're missing a 3-cost.
Which 3-cost have I got?
Oro.
Oh, that's because I've sorted it. Sorry, Oro, the little tank. Again, this was a late edition, and we were looking for 3-costs.
This one almost didn't make it.
Yeah, and we just said, do you know what? Let's put that in. That again, it's not got a lot of armor. It's not got a lot of structure in real terms when you look at 3-cost units or even vehicles. But 5 with an L for 2, that's so thematic for here.
7 damage, right? You're now threatening a resource with 1 unit.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah.
I played it this weekend, and this past week against I think it was Ghost Bear, and it was fantastic.
The 2 little Cougars, the A with the missile 4 overheat 1, and the Prime with 1/4/3 overheat and missile again. Just putting them together, you're going to dish out damage or deliver it to wherever it wants to go. And then Cougar B, 7 damage out of a 5-cost unit. Okay, it's a little frail, but yeah, it fitted nicely. And I know this leads a lot into the Cougars, but again, we felt this was very thematic. And in order to support the option for the Cauldron-born D, the Ebon Jaguar, we put the Vulture, the Mad Dog, in as well at 9-cost in order to bring those out. And it wouldn't be a Smoke Jag deck without a day sheet in it. And in this one, we went for the modified B variant from the original game, where the numbers have been kind of sorted out and turned into proper things. And it's a 4/11/10 overheat 3/3 long range 4, and certainly with double overtime and the resource unit, you have options of getting this on the table, or we think that is possible.
So you can, and just discussing that combination, if you had all 3, you deploy the Daishi.
Yep.
Then you put 5 on it.
Yeah.
Play double overtime, turns it to 10, and then tap the resource unit, and she comes out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for 5 resources, effectively 70 if you counted double overtime and the resource unit theta, you're paying half cost.
Yeah.
To get the Dire Wolf out. Right, and it's a monster.
Yeah.
What else do we and it does come out fairly reliable. The other one we put in to kind of round out the top bracket and has 4 possible targets for the for that is the Ryokan Stormcrow E.
Stormcrow E, yeah.
10.
Yeah.
And no buyouts. It's just a good beefy boy, and it fits the build. This deck actually has a couple of working names. Either the Smoke Jaguar Cougar Conundrum or the Kitty Conundrum, because 90% of the mechs in this are named after a cat.
Yeah, Kitty Conundrum. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some cool mission tech in here. Pride of the Trueborn makes its appearance.
Surprisingly.
Yep. Speed Bump does not get played as much as you would like, but it still shows up. Superiority Complex with your weak mechs that are going to die fairly easily. is just a pushing the envelope, basically, +3 attack, right?
Yep.
And you're going to be trading a deck. Disdain for free births can turn one of your 3-cost Koshis into 5 damage on the stockpile in the inner sphere, right? Which is not anything to shake a stick at.
Well, it's +5, isn't it? It's +3 from the basic, and in this phase +2. So a little Koshi could do 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To an inner sphere deck.
Yeah.
That's so, and even just doing 6 is still good, right? So
yeah.
It's got a fairly simplistic idea with heavier resources and heavier mechs of just let's throw these on the table and see what you can do, right? But it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And determination, we just thought, do you know what? If I get that day sheet or that cauldron board out, being able to do that is just too nice. So.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we're back to a pretty standard 2 black market, 2 war funds, 2 think tanks, mainly because it's a 6-6-6 split between assembly, munitions, and tactics. So
arguably, we could have made this easier for DSR, going down to 1 think tank, 1 black market, and putting in 2 other missions. But it is we stayed this way because it is a resource-heavy deck.
Yeah.
You could get stuck in a position where you have a Daishi, a Ryokan, a Vulture, and a Cauldron Born in your hand, right? And you're just playing straight resources. It could happen, right? There is 8 units that cost greater than 9, so statistically you could draw 1 early game, and or 2 and be in a bad spot. So just having a lot of resources and the ability to get them out is pretty big. So.
Yeah. And just for clarity with DSR, because we are running 24 normal resources, basic resources, we're running our normal package of 18 basic with 6 assembly, missions, and tactics, 2 war funds, 2 think tanks, 2 black market. The resource unit Theta goes into the main deck, not the resource deck. If you're assembling that for dual stockpile, we're going to make the files available as well, so you just download them and put them in, but that's where it should go if you're making them from scratch. And then what do we do with the sideboard?
A little bit of a mixed bag, to be honest, and it's less DSR, more sideboardy, I'd say.
Yeah. We kept with the cat theme for the units by the looks of it.
Yeah, we put the other Cougar C in. 5 cost for 1/4/6.
Yeah.
That overheats to get to 7 again.
Yeah.
The tech, and this was me pushing for it, so I'll bring it up. Was this Lincoln Osis mixed with Superiority Complex? So Superiority Complex, Blinding Rage. Sorry, yeah, Blinding Rage.
Blinding Rage, yeah.
Right. So Blinding Rage's mission is +4 attack and scrap a unit. Again, you're already in a position where a lot of your units are weak. 5 is not hard to get to for Inner Sphere or Clan. You're probably going to be trading units fairly often. The hope is to be trading multiple for 1, right? But then you look at Lincoln Osis. And Lincoln Osis is a battle armor, and this is the last holdover from being a battle armor, because we were even going to play with Paul Moon and bring him in and everything else, right? But Lincoln Osis says if any unit in a group with Lincoln Osis is scrapped, it may immediately deal 3 damage to an engaged unit. So you can include Lincoln Osis with one of your Cougars, or having even easier with one of your Mistlinks. So he's moving fast. That Mistlink's doing 3 and Lincoln's doing 4 to a site, so you're doing 7, right? They try to block you for damage, and you're going to lose your Mistlinks anyways. But then you play Blinding Rage, and whichever unit dies, right, is going to deal another 7 damage basically on the trade. Because Lincoln Osis says whenever it's scrapped, deal 3 additional damage to an engaged unit.
You Blinding Raid the Koshi to get +4, then it gets scrapped, then you trigger Lincoln's ability and get another +3 damage to something.
Yep. So this is even a valid, if you're stuck with all of your lighter units out, this is even a valid way to remove bigger targets from the table, right?
Yeah.
So, because you could, if you're using with the Koshi, he could be fast at hunting. Pride of the Trueborn shows up again in the sideboard.
2 in this deck.
Yeah. Speed Matters is a great little mission. Right. All the opposing units count as 1 speed slower. So.
that allows you with your moderate Ryokan, Cauldron and Vulture to smack fast units with your big moderates. No, sorry, I'm reading it wrong. It's attacking,
No,
isn't
you
it?
can't
No.
hunt them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, this is the Koshi Linkanosis. Play this, and they're all slow. You get through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrong
So
way around.
I like Speed Matters. I've seen it in a couple
Mm-hmm.
decks. We've got the 4 commands. They're pretty straightforward. Jaguar, Spirit, Keshik. Puts pilot counters on, so the Keshiks are different than the schools. They specifically say with no pilot or pilot counter, not just no unique pilot. So now you're competing with your factional pilots. Luckily, we didn't put any in the Smoke Jaguar deck. But any pilot counters from this card gain +2 attack.
Yep.
Right, so just straightforward attack. Brandon Howell, choose an opposing unit and tap it. If it's not already tapped, that unit joins the battle. Right, obviously just a way, kind of like an extra way to bait people out into your bigger, more higher damage mechs that you've got. And Death in Reverse, right, which was, I think, was you more than me.
I think so. This is activate the edge of missions phase. Choose one of your affiliated units with scrap for play this turn, and put it in play in your patrol region. Tap with damage counters equal to its armor value. So this was kind of a counter when they try and deal with your big unit, whether it's the Mad Dog or the Ibn Jaguar or whatever else it is. And you know, they probably have to gang up to do that. They probably are going to use 1 or 2 units, and they might see that as a reasonably fair trade. And then you play this and then bring it back. And okay, it's got some damage counters on it, but the fact that it's going to be there to deal damage again is going to be a real pain in the ass. So again, I just bit of potential synergy there with that combo.
Even using it on your Cougars, right? They only have 1 armor and 4 structure, but they're dishing out 7 damage, right? If they just got rid of it and they're a 5-cost unit,
yeah,
and you bring it back, like that's a substantial.
You know, I mean, any of those Cougars is a threat. Quite, you know, even you know the A with missile 4 is scary. And yes, you can roll 4 6s, but you can roll 4 3s just as well. So, yeah, I do have a soft spot for this one. I do like this one. Not sure why. Okay, right. Next up, this is definitely this is one of yours, and I know you love this. So I'll let you go for it.
So this deck was born out of BattleTech Tactics 1, and is a bit of a holdover and trying to adapt to BattleTech Tactics 2. It is I think it's the only deck we designed that is only 2 resources with Assembly Tactics. It's a straightforward, fairly combat deck, but it brings some tech with it. It runs 2 Slayer's Contacts modified. The modified one is the same as the regular, just it can't be a non-unique pilot card is what it has to be. So you can't put out which is a pretty big deal, you can't put out your Kais with it or whatever else, right? But this deck runs, again, watching some of the Gauntlet reviews and things like that, this deck runs about 6 pilots and more in the sideboard. So Slayer's Contacts will have a lot of targets.
Yeah.
And the pilots are really, I'll go over them after, go over the units, I think.
Okay.
It runs just as the resources with Slayer's Contacts too. It's 1 Black Market, 1 Think Tank, 2 War Funds, and then 2 Tau Mech Works, which is the app for 2 resources or repair for 4. For units,
I was going to say the good thing here is practically every unit is Liao affiliated. In fact, there isn't one.
Yeah.
So it just works on everything. Unlike the Davion deck, which is 50-50. Sorry.
Yeah, there's 1 card that is not Liao, and it's in the sideboard. So, this it uses a lot of stealth and a lot of jump. and it has a fair few fast that can do some stuff. So on the low cost count, you got your Duan Goang 1 for fast, into your Anubis at 3, and your Cicada at 4. But then it's also got the other Wraith at 4. So you got and the Spectre. So it's got 5 fast units in it. So it's a fairly fast deck. With the stealth on a lot of the units, each unit assigned it gets -1.
Couple of technical
Many of the
issues.
units have jump as well, and that's going to come into play in a little bit here. I love that Ostrock at 7 cost. It's got overheat, long range, stealth, and jump. So it has a lot of options. There's a few mechs in here that I wouldn't have necessarily originally relied on. The Tian Sang is a little bit pricey, but when he does hit the table, he's effective. But as I said, these mechs really rely on stealth and jump to give you even more playability. So then you go into the pilots, because this is a pilot deck, and that's kind of where the catch comes. Yes, it's an AT deck, but it's also just a pilot generic deck. Its first pilot would be Sang Wei. Sang Wei is a Liao pilot, 1 cost, +1 attack, +1 initiative, +1 attack and initiative when it's on a Liao affiliated unit. So for 1, you're getting +2 attack, +2 initiative on every unit in the main deck. Obvious choice. Slick is the next one. Slick is a 0 cost, +1 attack, +1 initiative, and +1 attack and +2 armor if he's on a mech with jump. Approximately 50% or more of these mechs all jump. +2 attack, +2 armor, +1 initiative on a free deploy or 0 cost is amazing, and it makes it really hard to cut through a mech with stealth if he's cut the extra armor as well. The last pilot in the main deck is the Veteran Sergeant. +1 attack, initiative, and armor. Choose an engaged mech other than the one piloted by Veteran Sergeant, so you're going to be attacking in groups. That mech gets +1 attack, +1 armor. So, like I said, you got a lot of fast mechs to hit your 7s. Suddenly, put a Veteran Sergeant on it, and a Sang Wei, and you're steamrolling through things, right? Because it's a pilot deck, it only runs 4 or 5 missions.
5, because we went with the Liao super card.
Yeah, so it's got Will of Liao as a super card. Every time you activate a card this turn, including Will of Liao, draw a card or take a card from the top of your scrap heap and put it in your hand, plus gain an additional deployment this turn. So it's a great little tempo card. The mission package is very specific. One is to become invisible, which makes a stealth unit unblockable. Sword of Honor gives you additional attack for each affiliated unit in untapped affiliated unit in your patrol region. So it's your first attack of your missions phase. You can boost up to like 4 or 5 damage. Rope-a-dope, because you have so many fast mechs, play only during a mission where you block a fast mech, have that mech, right? Choose and deplete an attacking unit. And like a second skin became a favorite. It's in a lot of missions. Play only when attacking, only if you won the initiative, which is fairly common, especially with the amount of pilots. Prevent 2 damage and 2 damage to target, right? So attack from the rear is one of your game finishers, I guess. It's kind of like a smaller version of simultaneous combat drum. Play with only when you attack with 2 or more units and have tactics in play. Choose one of your units. That unit deals all of its damage to the target. So, but again, if you're running Slick or Sang Wei on something, it's sitting at 5 or 6 damage. That can be a big difference. So.
Yeah.
So it's a very tight deck. It runs into problems a little bit with its cost curve at only 16 basic resources. But it plays very thematically.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And like I said, Slick is a generic Inner Sphere pilot. and Veteran Sergeant is as well. So just getting this deck would enable you to have extra pilots, right, and access to Solaris contacts, right? So, the sideboard is fairly tight as well.
Do you want to do the pilot as well? Because we put 2 more pilots in here.
Yep. So we'll put in Seasoned Mech Warrior first. Is the pilot, then jumped in. So now you're up to 8 if you go to DSR. And this is, again, I actually based the numbers of pilots looking for off of some of the reviews that they're putting up on the Gauntlet deck of the week and stuff like that, and effectiveness for pilots to free deploys. But choose another non-unique pilot engaged with Seasoned Mech Warrior and put a +1 attack counter on it. So very much like Veteran Sergeant, right? Not quite as good, but still very good. Capellan War College. So we get back into this is the Inner Sphere War College. You can put a pilot counter on a unit as long as it does not have a unique pilot or pilot counter on it. And Capellan War College is cheeky. It just says deal 2 damage to an opposing unit if scrapped during battle. So it's just an additional 2 damage.
It's a bit like the Lincolnosis effect, isn't it? And again,
yes.
All of our pilots in this deck are generic or not unique, so that drawback doesn't affect any of those cards. So
Liao High Command is kind of like a tap any number of units you control, choose the same number of opposing units, and tap those units so you can tap out your opponent's blockers, right? Tap your slow units, or tap your fat moderates, whatever you want to do, right? Or you can tap your units for resources. I don't know how often you're going to use that, but it could come in.
Probably not in this deck. The main value here is that top one as the potential to win the game or get yourself that final hit in.
The mission package in the sideboard, old school, +3 if you have a piloted mech. That's good. A Spirit of Core, +2 if your engaged units have the same affiliation. Everything's Liao.
Yeah.
Critical system hit was you.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, what do you mean? Well, I just mean you are great at finding pieces of tech, like the fun little cards to play that no one expects.
Sorry.
Right?
What does this one do? If the opponent uses receives structure damage, that's probably not too bad given all the bonuses we've got kicking around. Put a critical hit counter on them, roll a die, 1 to 3, no effect. 4 to 6, return this card to your hand. Okay, so there's 50% of being able to regurgitate this. Units with a critical hit counter get -X attack, where X is the number of damage counters on it. So that kind of counters that little smoke Jaguar trick a few moments ago where they bring back the Daishi with counters on it that's massive, and then all of a sudden you can critical hit system it and it blows itself up or somewise. It's a way of handling larger units.
Yes.
Which, there's plenty of firepower in the deck, but if somebody puts something like that on the table, or that Ebon Jaguar, then that could cause you a lot of problems. So building for that, or at least having the options for that, was something we slotted in. And it's a Liao only mission, so it's showcasing some of their kit. And then finally on the units, we had the Phoenix Hawk, generic 2-cost Inner Sphere, and then the very thematically green Marshal.
It's a great little unit for 5, no bio.
274 AP1. It's going to do 5 damage to a target that's not guarded, or 4 damage to a unit. It's strong, it's sturdy. It's not quite a Victor, it's not quite a Cataphract, but who needs those? It's still a decent enough unit for this.
This deck plays pretty standard, right? You're just one deployment or one resource and one unit until you get to 2 units, or a unit and a pilot, and getting out Solaris contacts, right? So, but otherwise, it's a fun little.
Yeah.
It's a very, very tight deck.
I think the other thing is that up until this point, Liao wasn't really known for its pilots. Okay, you've got a couple of decent ones. You've got Aris Sung, you've got Chaos March Veteran and stuff like that. But you wouldn't think, oh, you know what? Let's make a Liao pilot deck. 'Cause there's some good cards there. And up until you see Sang Wei and a few of the others, it never really existed. And I think this is nice to create that option within a different house, if that respect. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I would, if I were mixing this with classic cards or OG cards, I would probably drop the Veteran Sergeant or Seasoned Mech Warrior for Chaos March Veteran without much of a thought.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the next deck, Diamond Shark.
It is. It is Diamond Shark. I can't remember who did this. It might have been me. I'm not sure.
I think it's a little more you.
Probably
mixed.
Oh.
Because you were struggling on what you were going to build for Diamond Shark playing against Chester too. So.
Yes, it was one of the last ones I played. Yeah, and then I came up with something I want to run, and then it didn't appear at all, and I ended up doing it completely differently. So let's have a look here. We have
This is a lot of tech in it.
Yeah, it's got 18 resources. 8 of those are assembly, 4 politics for Diamond Shark, and 6 tactics. We're running 2 war funds, 2 think tanks, and 1 black market connections. So there's probably a card in here that allows you to return something from your scrap heap. Do we want to start with the units, or do we want to start with the commands? Let's go with the commands. Let me organize these by type. So Diamond Shark plays well with counters, and those counters you basically end up turning into resources. So let's look at the.
You did miss one resource, but.
Oh, which resource did I miss?
Channels. That gives you logistics and politics.
Did we put some?
We have back channels to give logistics, as well as Angus and Lobov gives logistics.
It's all right. Where are we? We put
so
back.
This makes it the only deck that's technically 4 resources.
Yes, and one of the few that has a multi-resource card with L and P. Yes. Right. So let me. Constantly organising things on the sly here. Actually, let's go back and look at those uniques that require L and P. We've got Angus Labov. Scrap a card from your hand to return a unit card from your scrap heap. Well, he's in there, and he's in there obviously because he's a Diamond Shark and flavour, but also that's a better deal than Black Market. So he's basically a Melissa Steiner Davion kind of thing, isn't he? He's the same deal as her. Barbara Sennett, the more I read this card, the more I think this is absolutely bonkers. You tap her and put a merchant counter on her. And when you do that, you gain a resource for each merchant counter on her. So you tap her for first time and get 1. You tap her a second time, you get 2. You tap her a third time, you get 3. And so on and so on and so on. She has got target written all over her, because if you don't get rid of her, those resources are going to snowball. Alongside that, we have Damon Clark's Legacy, which says whenever you tap a resource and place a construction counter on a single revealed unit under construction, place another one. So if you put those two together, then literally it's a double kind of situation with Barbara. And on top of that, we can support that with the pilot in the deck, which is the Shark. He's a +1 attack and +1 initiative kind of guy, and he if the mech piloted by the Shark attacks a site and is unblocked, you can draw a card if that site is the Stockpile. Otherwise, the mech gets a loot counter. Now, I kind of looked at this and I fell out of love with it, because it's the attack against something other than the Stockpile is possibly what you want earlier in the game. And then later in the game, you might want to be drawing a card. So just be careful with that, because if you attack the wrong thing, you don't get your loot counter and you draw a card and could potentially kill yourself. However, where are we with the shark? Here we go. During your deploy phase, remove all loot counters from the shark and get twice as many resources for each counter. So if he's got a counter on him, I remove that and get 2 more resources. I then, of course, put that on a unit with Damon Clark's Legacy on there and get 4. So the resources are where Diamond Shark goes. If you get this right, you've got more resources than you know what to do with.
So Shark doesn't work with Damon Clark's Legacy,
doesn't it? Let's have a look.
Damon Clark's Legacy
Remove.
Specifically, and it's one of those cards where I tell people to slow down when they play. Because everyone, and you do this too, you just tap all your resources and play cards out of your hand. Right?
Yes. Well,
but it's technically, you've deployed it, played it down,
yeah.
Tap 1 resource, that gives you 2 resources, basically.
Yes.
Tap another one, it gives you 2.
Yeah.
But it's only when you're tapping a resource that it gives you double counters.
Okay, that's my mistake. And yeah, I have a bad habit of doing that, I know. Finally, well bargained and done. Scrap when revealed, gain an additional deployment. Okay, so that pays for itself effectively. Draw 2 cards, take a card from your scrap heap and put it in your hand. So there's another kind of black market effect. Yeah. Each opponent may draw a card, and for every one they draw, you can draw an additional one as well. Chester played this against me, and I didn't draw anything, and I think he was a bit disappointed.
I don't play it for you to draw, but yeah.
Yeah, yes.
I think acquiring resources is worth talking about, where you were just talking about the shark.
Where are we? Acquiring resources. Ah, yes. This.
No mission, but.
This, if you can do this, is again another great play. The deck I played against Chester was actually built around utilising this. Play if attacking the stockpile and only if unblocked, and you have L in play. So, surprise, surprise, we're not actually running politics, but we have Angus that provides L, we have Barbara that provides L, and we have back channels as well as our 2 think tanks. So that's not quite the end of the world. Each engaged unit gains a loot counter. During your next deploy phase, remove all loot counters from the units you control and gain 2 resources again. So it's a kind of similar to the shark, but you are not limited in where you attack, unlike the shark. So just be mindful of that. And as Mitch points out, you gain the resources, you don't tap a resource. So it doesn't work with the legacy, unlike what I said. So what else have we got here? So most of the units in here, there are a good chunk of fast units. So dropship raid is the next one on the list. Sorry, I think I missed one. Play enemy attacking the stockpile and unblocked. For every 4 damage dealt to the stockpile this mission, your opponent must play 1 resource on each activation next turn that is not a resource. So basically you are paying a kind of entropy based warfare additional counter to make the activation. So it costs your opponent more to put units out. Where are we? Dropship, that's dropship raid. Hunting the waters, each of your piloted units, well that's for the shark, gets +3. Any of your pilots scrapped during this battle may be instead immediately reassigned to another unit you control. Yeah. Oh yes, Ian. We'll talk about Ian in a second. So that allows you to move them to an unpiloted unit and then go and attack again and get your counters ticking over with that. And that's why that you can have more than 1 counter on your shark, even though he may only have well, you clear it every round, don't you? Every turn you clear that. Yeah, exactly. So you might end up with more counters on that. So that's hunting waters. Pivot to flank. I loved this when I was playing against Chester the other week. Play any when attack with 1 or more fast units and are blocked. Choose a blocking unit and remove it from the battle, and it remains tapped. This is kind of Steel Talons without the die roll, effectively. That is, again, it allows you to manipulate and control what happens during that battle. And then our final command is Ian Hawker. All your engaged Diamond Shark affiliated units, well, that's practically everything again, apart from that Puma J, gets +1 attack and +1 armor. Alliances don't count. If your first mission during your missions phase does not include Ian, put him back in your hand. That could actually be quite useful, because if he's on a damaged unit and you've got him in a certain place, you can put him out or move him around if you're worried about that. So
+4 attack is nothing to sniff at.
No. +4 attack, 1 armor, and 1 initiative is really strong for 2 cost. And then we have our unit mix. Our unit mix has a reasonably nice curve. Our 2 cost Crimson Hawk features again. Our 2 cost Diamond Shark and Nova Cat, Hankyu E, Arctic Cheetah E, 042, AP2. Obviously better against targets or sites than mechs, but again another little 2 coster in there. And we also have the Ulla H Kit Fox 044 long range 1. So that fills out your early slots. Diamond Shark Ghost Bear Solitaire fast 042, but overheat 3+2, so you can get 4 out of it if you need to. The moderate Puma J 152 AP4. If you can get that through, then again that hurts an awful lot. We have the Arctic Cheetah H 044 fast and jump, and then we hop up to the 5 costs with the Grendel F, which has got Plasma Shot. Plasma Shot not particularly represented across the entire expansion, to be honest. There are a few units with them, not as many as you would like, possibly, or not enough to build a deck about it, but it is quite strong.
Plasma Shot too,
yeah, you might say that 162 for a 5 cost, okay, it's fast and jump is a bit poor, but Plasma Shot gives it +2 damage against any target other than a mech. So that includes tanks and your units and your vehicles, or
sites.
And sites, obviously, or choose one enemy and that enemy gets -2 attack. So the benefit, the good thing about Plasma Shot is the choice. You make the choice to do either of those options to your benefit.
And that -2 attack to keep your mech alive is huge.
Yeah,
I've used it with multiple cards, and it's always been a benefit because it's on my Epona that I love, right?
Yeah.
For the Helmsperson.
Yeah. And then, 6 cost, we have the Hellion Prime, fast 154, overheat 2+2, mask from the patrol region for 7 is crazy strong. And at 7 we have the Nobunori Nin, the Huntsman, 176, overheat 1, long range 1, AP 1, and jump. And then to utilize all those counters and resources that you could be generated, Nova Cat C, 298, long range 3, and the moderate 399 Mad Cat Mark II at 12 cost. If you're playing the deck and you find that all of a sudden I've got way more counters than I need and I don't know what to do with them, then you can look to the sideboard, because in the sideboard we went with the big blue meanie, the 299 long range 4 Nova Cat A. Certainly you're just going to take 4 regardless, so the threat level there is quite high. If you want a bit more in the way of fast play, then the Crimson Langur Prime at a 175 gives you more fast coverage. So they're quite chunky, but we think that the deck is going to have resources coming out of a number of orifices, shall we say. Mission-wise, Hidden Sentry, play attacked, choose a unit you control. The unit may block it regardless of speed, so it's kind of a lured into the bog kind of thing. The idea being to...
very useful in this deck where it's already super high on fast, but there are some big slows, right?
The idea being you can pull a trick with it. hold at all costs, play it. This one's in the sideboard because it's quite specific and hard to trigger. There's only one copy of it. If there are at least 3 units in your scrap heap. Personally, I'd rather there were no units in my scrap heap and they were on the table, but there we go. Put a random unit from your scrap heap and put it into play guarding the target. The units must attack if attack if able. Sorry, the unit must block the attack if able. After the mission, if it was not scrapped, put it in your hand. So there's a kind of a black market effect if it survives. So it all depends on what you've got and what you pull. But remember that if your opponent attacks you early and scraps one of those big Nova Cats, there's no restriction on what you pull. It's just random. So, you know, it's kind of the Dirty Harry feel. Do I feel lucky, punk, kind of thing. Pivot to flank, another copy of that. We've already mentioned that. To go back to the commands and egg things, Diamond Shark High Command. Sorry, which one I missed?
Covering the retreat.
Covering the oh yeah, I had hidden up there in the top.
Used that one really well.
Yeah. Play anywhere blocked. Choose a unit you control. You may untap any or all other engaged units you control and remove them from battle. So that allows you to attack with what you want. He declares blockers, and if he's going to kill your units, you sacrifice one and untap everything. And obviously he could be tapped out or restricted units, and then away you go again. So it brings us to the commands. The High Command is another L and P card. Maybe if we were building this deck again, we might put a couple more of varying resources in there. But why do you need to do that when you can choose and take them from your opponent? Choose 3 resources an opponent controls, untap them and take control of them until the end of turn. Use this ability during your deploy phase and only if that opponent did not scrap cards from your stockpile the previous turn. So that allows you... Sorry?
I think we also decided that the extra logistics, almost all the extra buyouts, are pretty much worth paying if you had to. I would pay 2 for Diamond Shark High Command without much thought.
Yeah. That's one of the things that they decided to do with Tactics was put in the buyouts but at lower levels, so you get them a lot more like 1p or 2l instead of 6p, which you used to get on a lot of subterfuge cards and put people off. What else have we got? We've got Emerald Keshek. Tap 2 or pay 2 resources, put an Emerald Keshek pilot counter on a mech you control with no pilot or pilot counter. So okay, so this is pilot and pilot counter. So, mechs with a pilot counter from this card gain, you may not assign a pilot to this mech, and when this mech is scrapped, you may return it to its owner's hand. So that allows you to recycle potentially the units that you lose or want to keep on the table, or if you want to kind of put out more than 1 unit per turn, that allows you to use up all the resources that Diamond Shark can give you and regurgitate mechs, keep them on the field, you know, and keep the pressure up. And Pirate Point was, I think it was a late addition, but the more I look at it, the more I kind of think this is very much in theme with this deck itself. It's a one shot, and it does say remove from the game when you reveal it. Choose 1. Gain a R for every resource card you control. So that kind of, okay, so I've got 5 resources on the table, gain 5. Okay, cool. That's kind of the doubling effect that the legacy gives you, but not quite the same. Gain an extra deployment for every 2 resources. Sorry, gain an extra deployment for every 2 resource cards you control. So if you have got loads of resources you want to spend, put some more units out, away you go. And the final option is put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on any non-resource, non-unit card under construction. Show that to all players. So Non-resource, non-unit. What's left? Of command
Refuse command. Yeah.
cards. Yes. And I think the only ones that would affect is probably the uniques, and you're paying the buyouts for them. It might be that with the Damon Clark's Legacy 3-3P, is this got a P buyout on it? Pirate Point. It's got an L and T buyout on it, yes. So that's where my thinking was. This is a way, if you've got L and T on the table, to pay the buyouts on the Damon Clark's Legacy, because that cost you 6 with the politics buyout. You're likely to have the T, and Angus is similar. I think in hindsight, maybe the deck needs the card that I tried to put in when I played it, something like a holographic decoy, something to use up all of those resources in a way to finish the game, or because it runs L, a double time offensive. But that's for the future, and that's for you to decide. Maybe you put those in and play and change and chop and do what you want with those. But
I think the beauty of Pirate Point is really in the extra deployment.
Yeah,
you're going to have a lot of resources, and if you have that high commando, you could have even more resources, right?
Yeah.
It's with the Comstar deck that we had included it in as well, but I was playing against it again just this last week, and mid to late game, my friend dropped Pirate Point, ended up with 5 writ deployments.
Christ.
Right?
Yeah.
I still won, but he spammed a whole bunch of units onto the table, and I was like, well, this is going to be entertaining. So
squeaky bum point, as we would say.
Yeah. So
wow.
I think in this deck, that's where it's going to come out, because you're going to be able to spend all the resources to deploy extra max, right? So yeah.
Cool. Well, that's 8 decks down.
It's 8 decks down. So do you want to stop there and then do 8 and then do the last 4 again, or do you want to do 2 more? How are you feeling?
I think I need to take a bit of a break from that point of view. So I'm gonna just switch things over now.